Hello, welcome to Old Nerd Mail Call. I got 3 books in the mail recently. The highly anticipated X-Men Elsewhen by John Byrne, and Giant Size Two-Fisted Manly Tales, #1 and #2 by Chuck Dixon. Actually, this one is Chuck Dixon. This one, I'm not sure if this is Chuck Dixon or not. And this one's still sealed. I haven't opened this one, so I don't know if this is Chuck Dixon or not. Let's take a look. I picked up this one because Chuck Dixon had he sent out an email to all of his subscribers and said that he would send us like a signed postcard to anyone who bought the Two-Fisted Manly Tales #2. There was just a Kickstarter for it, or is it Fund My Comic? I can't remember which one it was on, which crowdfunding campaign it was on, but I was like, all right, what the heck? And he sent me in the mail. He sent me a signed postcard. I don't know where it is, around here somewhere. But I just did a video on Chuck Dixon, like how I had bought a graphic novel from eBay, and when I got it, and I realized when I was unboxing, I did like an unboxing video on here. I'll put a link to it so you can check it out. But I did an unboxing video, and I realized when I was looking at the shipping label that it was from Chuck Dixon. I just, within a few weeks prior to that, had gotten an actual piece of mail from Chuck Dixon when he mailed me the signed postcard for getting in on this on the last day of its crowdfunding campaign. So it was kind of neat that I had all that contact with Chuck Dixon. But when I ordered the second one, the first one was available, and I was like, since I'm kind of a completist, and this seems kind of cool. I think it's supposed to be like the war comics of the 1960s and 1970s, maybe. Modern take on it. Oh, this has got a Mike Barron story in it. Butch Geis doing the art. Recently passed away, Butch Geis. He also did the art for this, for Chuck Dixon's story. I'm not sure. There must be multiple stories in here. Oh, that's a Michael Golden cover art. Yeah, Michael Golden's style has changed so much since back in the day. But I wouldn't have recognized that. Two-Fisted Manly Tales. So yeah, it looks like there's multiple stories in here. You don't really have a table of context. Can't speak today. Yeah, several stories in here. So that's issue 1. And then this is issue 2, the one that I signed up for. I got in on this on, I think it was actually beyond the last day. They must have held it open for an extra day because like Chuck had sent out an email saying that, if anybody jumps on the crowdfunding campaign and orders Two-Fisted Manly Tales #2, I'll send you the signed postcard. So they must have held it open for one extra day for him to send out that email. And that's what I did. I got that. Oh, look, we got some tchotchkes in here, as Chuck calls them. Hey, Tojo, you're next. It's cover art. And, of course, the obligatory bookmark. Comes with every single crowdfunding thing you ever get. But that's cool. We like that stuff. So this, I guess, is a reprint. I think Chuck Dixon and Butch Geis actually put this out years ago, and it was maybe published by Image or Antarctic. I can't remember, but they published it years ago, and it could never, for some reason, it never got like a trade paperback, maybe, or something like that. And I guess this is Kevin Nolan's publishing company, artist that worked with Chuck Dixon on like Detective Comics, I believe, back in the 90s, back during the breaking of the Bat stuff. But this Compass Comics company, I believe that's Graham Nolan. And so I believe he has a few stories in these as well. But originally, this was published, I believe, by Antarctic, maybe Image. I can't remember. But does this take up the whole book? Looks like it does. So Chuck Dixon takes up the whole book 2 of Two-Fisted Manly Tales. So here's Compass Comics. I believe this is a Kevin Nolan page right here. That's Joe Frankenstein. That's a Kevin Nolan and Chuck Dixon character. There's been at least one 4-issue limited series. It was really good. I remember back in the day when it came out, I don't know, 20 years ago maybe now it came out. 4-issue series, maybe came through IDW. Can't remember now. But that's Kevin Nolan and Chuck Dixon's character. Pretty good story. And I believe all of these are Kevin Nolan's creations, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I got these Two-Fisted Manly Tales. And now we've got this guy, which has been making quite the splash in the comic book community, especially the old nerd comic book community. Everybody has gotten this. Everybody's so excited to see John Byrne's take on what if he had stayed on the Uncanny X-Men instead of leaving back in, 1981-ish, too, whenever that was. So originally, like a couple years ago, he started like doing this project and just putting the pages online because, the X-Men are Marvel characters, but since he wasn't selling it and since he was just doing this story, doing it page by page and uploading it to the internet, basically all kinds of people like downloaded the pages, did their own inks on it, did their own coloring on it. It was just John Byrne's pencils and story. And he just uploaded the pages. And then after several years, a lot of people had like printed out the pages and done their own inks and coloring and whatnot and done their own trade dress and printed out the pages and made their own versions of the comic. But I guess Marvel Arts. It's not. This isn't put out by Marvel. This is put out by Abrams Comic Arts. Can you see that? Stinking focus. But it's licensed. The X-Men are licensed from Marvel by the company that published this. So I guess there's going to be 3 volumes of this. But here we go. Legendary comics creator John Byrne returns to the characters whose adventures he first steered to artistic greatness nearly 5 decades ago. X-Men Elsewhen Volume 1 is the first of a 3-volume series of new adventures featuring the X-Men, written and drawn by the Eisner Hall of Fame creator. But more than just a return to the series, he helped bring to prominence through much beloved influential storylines like the Dark Phoenix saga and Days of Future Past. This is a one-of-a-kind tale like no other. With X-Men Elsewhen, John Byrne not only returns to steer the adventures of Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Kitty Pryde, along with special guest stars like the Avengers, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man, but he does so by picking up where he left off decades ago. Elsewhen envisions a universe of stories, as though Byrne never left the title in 1980, with one major difference leading all the stories that follow. Here, Jean Grey did not sacrifice herself for the good of the universe. Rather, she survived her experience as Dark Phoenix, and neither she nor the team nor the Marvel Universe will ever be the same. So let's look through this a little bit. So it picks up right where the whole Dark Phoenix thing was going on. Now, John Byrne didn't originally draw this part of the Dark Phoenix story. This is where she first became Phoenix. And that was Dave Cockrum. Dave Cockrum was still drawing the title then, but he's just probably recapping here. X-Men Elsewhen by John Byrne and introducing Paul Wills. So I wonder if this Paul Wills was somebody who just was inking John Byrne's pages, downloading the pages from the internet and inking them and then and reposting them, resharing them, and maybe he was like John Byrne's pick out of everybody to do the inks on his pencils. I don't know. But this is going to be really interesting to read. Uh, right now I'm doing the series on my channel, reading my Marvel comics in order, and I am where am I at with the X-Men? I'm at it's Dave Cockrum is still the penciler where I'm at right now, but he's only got a couple issues left before John Byrne takes over. So I might hold off on reading this until I get to the point where this would start. In other words, around what, Uncanny X-Men 140-ish, right around there when John Byrne left. It's really cool to see him drawing these characters after so long. Of course, he's come back to Marvel since leaving the X-Men and drawn them a time or two. He did that X-Men miniseries. What was it called? Elsewhen? No, this is Elsewhen. He did another X-Men series, like a 12-issue series back in the late 1990s. I can't remember the name of that title. But that was the original X-Men. That wasn't this team. That was the original X-Men: Cyclops, Angel, Beast, Iceman, Marvel Girl. So this is going to be really interesting to see what this turns out. I followed the page on Facebook that presented these pages as they were coming out, but I never read it. I just kind of glanced over the artwork, really. I was just kind of like mildly curious about it. But then when they announced that they were putting out this really nice collection, I said, I'm getting that. It's a great splash page right there. So there's going to be 3 volumes of this. So stand by. I'm not going to read it just yet. So YouTube has been full of comic book channels receiving this and, showing it off, saying, hey, I received my copy. I guess it sold out, or, it sold really well anyway. I pre-ordered mine several months ago, but right now YouTube is full of videos, like unboxing videos, videos showing off that they got this. And I've watched a few of them. Some of the channels that I subscribe to actually have done this. So, but the algorithm must have kicked in, and it put in front of me a video from a channel I'm not subscribed to, and I'm gonna put the link to this video down in the comments. I'll pin a comment at the top, and I'll put this video in there for you to check out if you're interested. It's a comic store owner who put on his own little comic convention wherever it was he lives, wherever it is he lives, years ago, and he had John Byrne as a guest. And it was probably in the 80s, sometime when John Byrne was really hot. And he doesn't have good things to say about John Byrne. John Byrne apparently acted like kind of a jerk. So he put up a video as to why he will not be buying this, nor anything that John Byrne has done, because of the way that John Byrne treated him during this convention that he put on. It's pretty interesting. I have heard a lot of things about John Byrne, and to see some of his posts on social media, his politically tinged posts, he does seem like he's kind of outspoken and very opinionated, and I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I'll put a link to that video in the top comment. Check it out. It's pretty interesting. But anyway, yeah, this is my little mail call haul. Two-Fisted Manly Tales number 1 and 2, and John Byrne's X-Men Elsewhen. Anybody else get this stuff? I'll probably read these sooner than I'll read that. But if anybody's read any of this stuff, comment down below and let me know what you think. Share this video with anybody you think might dig it. And subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.